And welcome back to another requested Who Would Win. I actually got a lot of videos to do today. Unintentionally. Apparently there are a lot of March birthday babies because I got this is being recorded on Friday for today, Saturday. And apparently I had a lot of March babies this month. This is actually for Lucas Rivera's cousin, who asked the question. Admittedly, it's one of yours, Lucas, but I'll take your word for it that your cousin asked for it. Who would win in a fight? Akuma from Mortal Kombat Street Fighter. You can see where I can get confused. Versus Pennywise. God, Pennywise shows up so much on this versus. I've got, God knows, hundreds of more Pennywise suggestions to go. Look, I could continue to go down be a broken record about Pennywise, but let's just sum it up. Pennywise was introduced in the Stephen King novel It. Pennywise is a creature that exists in a universe outside of our universe. Think of it kind of like a shell scenario that, or actually like you got the layers, like layers. There's our universe, there's that universe, the macroverse it's called. Pennywise species does actually have a species. The creature is actually a creature. It's known as a glimmer, a shape-shifting orb, usually, or a shape-shifting being whose actual physical body is kind of incomprehensible to us. Any of us who look into the deadlights, which are theorized to really be the true form of it, go either insane or die. But it is a being that is not the strongest in the Stephen King universe, but I don't know if it's in the top 5, maybe. It's equal to Maturin, who could cough up universes. And is not greater than, I believe it's the Scarlet King, or Crimson King, I think it is. Or is it the Scarlet? There's a Scarlet King and there's a Crimson King, and I can't remember which one is which. Remind me in the comments below on that. But yeah, he's a very powerful individual who allegedly is like, I'm the eater of worlds and all that. But in our world, Pennywise is limited to the form he takes. That being said, he can take multiple forms, including the famous clown, which is the one he prefers because it scares the easiest, or the giant spider form, and he is bound by the physical laws of those forms. Now, granted, he is still stronger than what those forms would make you think. Like, even in his clown form, he is stronger than what he looks like. But that doesn't really matter because all of his abilities really revolve around psychological manipulation, maybe manipulating the environment around you, as he's capable of reading your mind, figuring out your fear, using that fear against you, casting illusions, some minor reality warping, as he says, shape-shifting, teleportation, phasing. Pennywise is a very dangerous creature, to say the least. Now, in the series, there was only one way to kill Pennywise, or defeat Pennywise, I guess is a better way to put it, and that was the ritual of Chud, most famously, ritual of Chud, very famously done in the book for that scene. Well, that wasn't the ritual of Chud, that was just something else that happened. But the ritual of Chud is odd, to say the least. Every once in a while, I don't get it as often anymore, but every once in a while I will get someone who says, the only way you can defeat him is the ritual of Chud. Yes. In that universe where the supernatural aspects are very limited, that was the only way that the Losers Club was able to theoretically beat him. And even then, I think it failed the second time around they did it. And so I think they they had to go through another method. In the movie, they stood up to him and basically weakened all the power he had until they crushed his heart and ripped it apart. And therein lies one of the big weaknesses of Pennywise. Pennywise's power does revolve around your fear of him and fear in general. While he still possesses powers against those who are not afraid of him, the more someone stands up to him, particularly in large groups, the weaker he becomes. Because fighting Pennywise is like 50% physical, 50% psychological, if not more psychological. Maybe like 30-70, kind of like that. Because his powers are derived from, obviously, emotions, things along those lines. If you were able to cut that off and just stand up to him and not show fear and just show him that, you're stronger than him in whatever capacity, this weakens him. Now, in a one-on-one fight, Pennywise is known to actually retreat when he doesn't look like he's able to beat someone. In fact, in any fight, really, when you actually break it down, Pennywise is actually it's not something I've actually addressed normally, but Pennywise is actually a bit of a coward when you in an actual fight, because he's so used to being the apex predator that when something challenges him legitimately, he doesn't know how to handle it. And so he has to backtrack and re-strategize, regroup, recover. Like again, I'm just going by the movie, but when they stick the freaking the iron fence rod through his skull, he's still alive, but that hurt. He felt that, and he had to backtrack and kind of recover from that. Later on, I mean, when he attacks Eddie, when he attacks Eddie as the leper, Eddie is scared, but then he works up his courage, starts choking it, and Pennywise effed off after that. Like, shit, I couldn't scare him anymore, and he was actually overwhelming me. Pennywise is, I mean, you could call it strategic, or you could call it cowardly, but Pennywise isn't actually designed for true combat. He's not a warrior type creature in that, or a battle creature in that way. He's not like a Wookiee, which could be designed for combat, or a Gorn, something like. No, he's a eldritch horror type of entity. So that leads us to Akuma, and right out the gate, you can tell there's probably going to be a problem with Akuma for Pennywise. Akuma is one of the main antagonists of the Street Fighter series. Him and M. Bison are kind of two of the big ones. He's the only one who's kind of can consistently beat M. Bison in a fight. But he is a master martial artist who travels the world just looking for worthy opponents to challenge him and get stronger. So much so that he did everything he could to gain power and then some, including learning the Atsu Inusara. I might be butchering that pronunciation. Raging Demon, which basically can obliterate a person's soul. But by learning it, it kind of just sacrificed any good that was in him, more or less. He does work by an honor code, though, so he's got that going for him. He, like I said, he is a master martial artist. In the actual lore of the series, this is a guy who basically blew up an island, if I'm not mistaken, with a punch. A guy who can basically do things like the Hadouken and different energy-based attacks, somewhat like a Kamehameha, really, that are capable of blowing up giant chunks of land. Easy. He's not planetary, to the best of my knowledge, but he is certainly he is like dropping a nuke on a city when he's going all out. He is a person whose style revolves mostly around controlling the fight. Which is why someone who is his equal is someone he looks for, because someone who can actually go toe to toe with him while he is trying to dominate the fight is someone he wants to fight. He also has an enhanced form called the Oni form, if I'm not mistaken, which is basically blue, electric, kind of like a Super Saiyan form, really. And it's an enhanced form. Everything is enhanced, all that. This is a guy who basically has really nothing he's afraid of. I'm actually just going to look that up right now, because that is a legitimate question. What is Akuma afraid of? What is Akuma afraid of? Because if he has no exploitable fears, then this poses a problem for Pennywise. There we go. What is Akuma afraid of? Akuma. What is Akuma's weaknesses? Ooh, okay, so unfortunately, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to list that he has any exploitable fears. Now, that being said, there is a scenario we can play out here. And that was basically the rundown of Akuma. There's really not much else to go over. Now, in the games, he's immensely powerful, but he actually has low stamina and defensive capabilities. When he takes a hit, it takes a giant chunk of his HP. But we're not looking necessarily at that. We're looking at Akuma as the character in lore. There is a scenario we can play out. Assuming Akuma is just traveling the world, he winds up in Dairy Maine of all places, while Pennywise is running rampant. And because he himself is on the evil side, and Pennywise isn't the nicest guy, they do kind of pick up on each other. And eventually, during one incident, Pennywise does run into Akuma, and Akuma's just staring at this clown. And normally, he wouldn't give a clown of all things any time of day, but he could tell. I was like, "You're not normal. You're not. Are you even a clown? Interesting." And Pennywise immediately like, "Back off, beathead." Which, yeah, I can't think of anything else he'd call him. It's like, "Oh, let us see if you are one." He's like, "I don't have time for this. I'm hungry." And then Akuma comes and starts pressing Pennywise. Pennywise is admittedly not prepared for this, and more a little freaked out. He can't pick up anything on this guy. Like, this guy's mind is a steel trap. And furthermore, it's like, even the little bit he's gathering, he can't get any fears off this guy. So Akuma's just firing off energy attacks or just overwhelming Pennywise, who keeps getting back up, admittedly. It's like, you can take a punch if anyone, but you can't dish anything out. Eventually, even Goken was better than could stand up to more than this. And upon the word Goken, another flash happens in Akuma's mind that Pennywise can pick up on. And so he, as soon as there's a little bit of a lull, he's able to disappear for a second, he turns into his brother. I believe that's Goken. And this causes a pause, because Akuma, now I'm not well versed in Street Fighter lore, but I know Akuma thought he killed Goken. But, as it turns out, Goken used the power of Mu to survive that. But I don't know if he was aware that Goken survived. Now, there's one of two ways you could look at that. If he's aware of it, he'd be wondering what Goken is doing here. But at the same time, he could probably feel that, no, this is just the creature. Either way, he could feel this is the creature taking the form of Goken. If he's not aware that Goken was alive, he might be a little surprised to see him there, but it's hardly being afraid. And either way, he still takes on the form of Goken. They fight, and because he's got those memories, he can maybe fight to a certain degree like Goken. But it ultimately doesn't matter in the end. Pennywise doesn't actually have much to overwhelm Akuma. He has one thing in his arsenal that we can address in just a second. But Akuma's just going to be too much of an individual for just Pennywise to deal with on a normal basis. But there's the catch-22. There's the deadlights. How do the deadlights affect Akuma? Because the deadlights affect living humans in one of two ways: drive you insane or kill you. Because it's basically gazing upon like the old ones. Our minds are not designed to handle this, and therefore we crap out. We just stop functioning right. And look, it all depends on what world you're in. If you're talking about Marvel, DC, yeah, normal humans, maybe not normal humans, but it's like saying Batman, whenever I do the Batman one. Batman could probably handle looking at the deadlights. I mean, it might still affect him, but it's not going to kill him, because he's dealt with beings far greater than Pennywise on a regular basis. Same with Marvel. A lot of the X-Men characters could probably handle the deadlights, no problem, or the Avengers, whatever. Again, doesn't mean it won't affect him, just means it won't kill them. But then you go into, say, My Hero Academia, Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu Hakusho might not be the best example, but My Hero Academia. I'm just thinking of some random shows or universes. I don't know. The Jackie Chan adventures. I'm literally just throwing randoms. Pokemon. Well, now you're dealing with worlds where, yeah, there's some levels of powers here, certainly, but nothing that's this level. Pokemon, like, you can make the maybe argument because of Arceus and Deoxys, all that, but even then, it's still, they're used to Pokemon. They're not used to, say, interdimensional beings of, well, then they got the Ultra Beasts. Maybe Pokemon really isn't that bad of an example. That maybe Ash could actually see Pennywise's true form and not break. I don't know. But point being is that Street Fighter doesn't have that luxury. Mortal Kombat does. Mortal Kombat could probably handle Pennywise no problem. Johnny Cage could probably just see the deadlights and be like, oh, looks like it's so bright I need shades. Like, he could literally just do that and probably be fine. But yeah, Street Fighter not so much. Akuma, I do not think they would have killed Akuma. I do think Akuma would not be prepared for it, though. And I think it would put him in a bit of in a mode until eventually Pennywise maybe tries to start chomping on him, eating him. Finding his muscles are really thick, so it's actually hard for him to get there. It's like, oh, you're meaty, you're juicy. And that pain and the reminder is like, I'll eat you all. And then just, he goes into Oni form because it kind of snaps him back into reality. Like, I will not lose! And he just does the Satsuki no Hara on Pennywise, who tries but fails to use the deadlights again. The deadlights hit, he gets hit full head on, full brunt of the attack hits him, basically. And does it actually obliterate his soul? I mean, that's the other problem too. Comparing how certain attacks, when they do certain things, versus how they would compare in the another world are very different. For example, in worlds like, say, Bleach or Yu Yu Hakusho, where souls are a very prominent thing there, I don't know how the Satsu Inahara would really affect certain characters. Likewise, I don't know how the Satsu Inahara would affect something like Pennywise, who technically lives on beyond this form, because his true form is somewhere else. I would say this, it would probably put him down temporarily. Like, he wouldn't be showing up again for the next 27 years. Or at least for another 27 years. And I think it's just because the force of the attack, the type of attack it is, and what it does, will be something Pennywise is not prepared for, and he might be crippled for a good long time. So, while I think the Deadlights would certainly have an effect on Akuma, Akuma is so, iron will and resilient, that while it would temporarily affect him, I think he'd snap out of it and ultimately put the clown down. At least temporarily. I don't know if he'd be able to permanently kill Pennywise, but he definitely, I think, would temporarily put him down. But this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, though. And I'll see you folks for the next one. Have a good one.